There is no success without risk. Remember that balancing bar, with success at one end, risk at the other. There's more success lurking in intelligent risk than in all the so-called safe jobs in the world. The world is full of people quite willing to toss out an idea as long as they're not involved in the work or the financial risk. A man wrote to me some years back and said, "I have an excellent idea, Mr. Nightingale, if you'd be willing to write the book about it." I told him that if he really had a great idea, the words would come to him and he could write his own book. It's true. When we have something to say, the words are there for us. The person who succeeds in America is the person who sets his or her own wages, goals, and lifestyle. Successful people are those who discover that life is quite ready and willing to meet their requirements. They set their incomes to meet their needs and wants through discovering within themselves a marketable factor and developing that factor to whatever degree necessary in order to derive the appropriate reward response. Unsuccessful people may be said to be those who make their lifestyles fit whatever wages they receive. They put themselves on the receiving end of things and have little to say about their own welfare. Successful people put themselves behind the wheel of their lives. The unsuccessful ride in the passenger seats. Almost everything has an economic base today, at least for over half the human population. We're usually rewarded by the amount of money we receive for what we do, and what we do in a free society, and what we charge for what we do in a free society are largely matters of personal choice. If we find our best interests and opportunities for personal expression within the framework of a large corporation, we can so develop and apply ourselves as to reach whatever levels of accomplishment and reward we're willing to earn. It takes time to succeed, and it should. We need seasoning for the success we decide to achieve. We need to earn our stripes through the daily passage of time and experience, so that each successive step is accepted and applauded by those who have come to know us. Meaningful and richly rewarding journeys take time. They take preparation and careful planning, and as every seasoned traveler knows, they're subject to the vagaries of incidents and the mistakes and inefficiencies of others along the way. But if the journey has its adventures and misadventures, it has a definite upward momentum, and there's no doubting its eventual destination, for that is the goal of the person in command. Each new upward step along the way prepares our resolute traveler for the next plateau, and if he or she doesn't lose the exciting vision of the goal to be reached, or meet with an untimely end, the silent tragedy of war and accident, the goal with all the trimmings and more will be his or hers. Remember Cervantes' words, "The journey is better than the inn." The journey is our life, our holiday on earth, our time here, as we successively set new goals or dive back into our great river of interest, or both. We receive what we fully expect to receive, and usually a good deal more. We become what we think about. We become successful to the extent of our true desires and determination, and we do so by building on our strong point. At what are you best? What gives you the most, the deepest satisfaction? Whatever that is can be honed to marketable proportions in some way and applied in service to others to earn you the rewards you seek and should have and will have. And that's your part of the bargain. No one's supposed to do that for you, or hold your hand, or rush to your aid every time you slip or fall back a little. That's the earning part that falls on each of us and prepares each of us for the future. There's help enough on every side if we're wise enough and energetic enough to make use of it. Help in the form of books, recorded cassette programs such as this one, skills to hone, and the numerous people who do come to our aid once we're on course. But such people need not be sought nor importuned. They come of their own natural need, like magic at just the right time. Events begin to fall into our lives like missing pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. They're the mark of the person with the attitude that tells the world he or she knows where he or she is going and fully expects to get there. They approach their commitments with intentionality and delight, as my friend Dr. Charles Garfield puts it in his book and cassette program on peak performers. The late and distinguished Dr. Abraham Maslow put it this way: if you deliberately plan to be less than you are capable of being, then I warn you that you will be unhappy for the rest of your life. You'll be evading your own capacities, your own possibilities. And let me add this: if you think you can succeed in a large way and play it safe at the same time, you're sadly mistaken. Success takes risk. It takes full commitment. You go out on the limb, so to speak, and take your chances alone. The warm, comfortable, huddling masses must be left behind, along with the old neighborhood and the small dreams. Risk and success, again, are at opposite ends of the same balancing beam. You cannot have one without the corresponding weight of the other. It ups the ante, raises the greens fee, and limits the membership, but it makes playing more fun, and you seldom have to wait in line anymore. The late motion picture producer Mike Todd put it well. He said, "Being broke is a temporary situation. Being poor is a state of mind." Who has success in America, or Canada, or Mexico, or Peru, or France, or West Germany, or Japan, or anywhere else? Those who have taken charge of their lives and are directing them to their own best use. Who does not have success? Those persons who have not taken charge of the direction of their lives, but have simply reacted to the environment in which they found themselves. They have simply become a part of it. Our environment at any stage of our lives, remember, is a mirror-like reflection of ourselves at that time. It may be a transitional stage, or, as more often the case, a permanent statement of ourselves and the extent of our preparation and contribution. In one of my radio broadcasts, I used the true story of the woman concert pianist who entertained the city's women's club with her brilliance at the keyboard. Afterwards, over coffee and tea, one of the local women exclaimed, "I'd give anything to play the piano as you do." The great pianist, her cup of coffee suspended in midair, fixed the woman with a knowing look and gently said, "No, you wouldn't." In the sudden silence that followed, the embarrassed exclaimer reiterated her statement in injured pique. "I most certainly would." The pianist shook her head and settled her cup in its saucer. "No, you wouldn't. You'd love to play as I do now, but you wouldn't spend the 25 years and 5 to 7 hours a day, 7 days a week, learning how to play as I do." Well, the statement was self-evident. It was true. If it were not true, the woman still had perhaps 25 or many more years of life remaining to learn all she would need to know to play the piano very well indeed. People see a successful person living the good life with all the perquisites of modern success, and they say, "Oh, look at that. Man, would I love to have what he or she has. How lucky can you get?" Lucky? Luck is what happens when preparedness meets opportunity. Such people don't know about the planning, the study, the preparation, the long hours, the hard work, the steady, implacable resolve. All they see is the end result, and they call it luck. Is success worth it? Is success, as we've defined it here, worth the trouble, the effort, the commitment, the dedication, the perseverance? Yes. Yes, of course it's worth it. The time will pass anyway. Why not put it to constructive, productive use? Everyone benefits. Nobody loses. In every field of human endeavor, it's the successful men and women who make the important difference. They see growth and improvement as the natural order of things, and they can see themselves growing into new arenas of achievement and commensurate reward. "Only that day dawns to which we are awake," wrote Henry Thoreau. What a pity it is for a human being with the gift of consciousness to take life and all that's connected with life for granted, to live each day as his or her due and quite likely find more to criticize than to be grateful for. Yet that's exactly how millions live out their lives. They often give the impression that they have a contract with forever, when it's really for only a handful of years between the bookends of mystery. Why not give it all we have to give? Why not make a thorough exploration of ourselves, and by so doing find what it is we have to add to the quality somewhere? To make life better, because we made an appearance here, to serve in the way we think we can serve best. Succeeding is so much fun, especially if it means moving several plateaus above the one on which you spent your youth. And succeeding brings so much of the world within the realm of experience for us. We can fly on the Concorde and take a trip on the Orient Express, cruise along the coast of China if you like, or fly over the poles. Succeeding brings the world within range, including much greater opportunity and success. We tend to perform well in the role in which we habitually see ourselves. Cruising around the Med could do wonders for our self-images. Who knows, we might find just the spot to build the loveliest little European-style American retirement village with all European capital. Well, there's just no end to the good ideas that some leisurely world travel might engender. Wandering around small, offbeat villages, who knows what we might see or pick up in the way of an unusual product that might go over big back in the States. It's important that we think in new directions from time to time. The more often the better. Genius has been defined as the ability to think in new directions. After all, wasn't that what typified all the great geniuses you can think of? The great artists, composers, writers, inventors. They were all inventors, all creators. They all thought in new directions. In her marvelous book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, Marilyn Ferguson writes, "If we're not learning and teaching, we are not awake and alive. Learning is not only like health, it is health. One can be just as bored sitting in the cockpit of a yacht anchored in the harbor at Portofino as sitting in one's office in New York City at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, but not if one is learning or teaching. Then boredom is never present. If you're at all like me, you require learning and teaching just about every day. I call it doing some work, but learning and teaching is what it amounts to. In my case, reading and writing, teaching. I need to know that I've done something worthwhile in order to fully enjoy my leisure time or a weekend. Perhaps that's the result of 30 years of working, but for me there must be a balance of work and play, both to be fully enjoyed. I'll never reach the age when I'm no longer interested in learning and putting what I have learned into language that others can understand, enjoy, and pass along. Now, what are the odds that a person following the guidelines of this program will actually succeed? I would say his chances of failure are virtually non-existent. The odds are overwhelmingly in one's favor. In fact, there's nothing else one can do but succeed. It's all in the goal and the planning that's subsequent to the establishment of that goal, if the person is a goal-oriented person. If the person's a river person, he or she is automatically a success as long as he or she is in that river. Remember the comment, the American people can become anything they want to become. The trouble is, they seldom make that decision. I woke up one morning about 15 minutes before the clock radio alarm was to sound off. A great experience to just lie back and luxuriate, when there popped into my mind the thought that life is its own reward. It came to me that having life itself, life being such a miraculous achievement, is like winning the grand prize. What we do after that, what we do with our lives, is the frosting on the cake. We hear young people ask, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is service, and whatever we decide to do or be to provide that service. We can do whatever we want with it. That is the terrible, to me, wonderful freedom of the existentialists. Never before have I been as conscious of how stunning an achievement life itself is in all its forms. Perhaps that was how the great Dr. Albert Schweitzer felt about life, and why he was so reverent about it in all its multifarious forms. We're so lucky to actually experience life, to be given the opportunity to do something worthwhile for others as our way of earning our way here, just as they spend their days serving us in so many ways. It becomes important, then, for us to do our work as creatively, as excellently as we can, and to think of new and better ways to do those things it has been given us to do so that we can maximize our input during the time we spend working. I remember reading something about what an ongoing education will do for us, that it teaches us to love what doesn't cost very much, to love the sunrise and the sunset and the beating of rain on roof and windows or the gentle fall of snow on a winter day. And it went on to say that a good education teaches us to love life for its own sake. And that's what I had realized that morning when I woke up before the alarm sounded. Being alive, just being alive, makes us winners. From then on, anything we want to add to the achievement is up to us. It needn't be a lot in the eyes of the world, but we can find our place in the scheme of things and do our thing, make our contribution, whatever it happens to be. One morning recently, Diana and I were in Hawaii. It was only 5 o'clock in the morning and still pitch dark, but the sky was clear and so filled with stars it was like standing under a great black velvet pincushion studded with millions of bright, tiny lights winking like diamonds. We put on our bathing suits and walked out into the water until it was up to our shoulders. And we put our arms around each other and drank in the clean, warm breeze and luxuriated in the sea, now warm to our bodies. And as we watched, the sky in the east grew softly lighter until the great craggy old volcanic mountains were clearly outlined against the early morning sky. And what a joy it was. What a joy it is just to be alive.